In this video, we're going to talk about how to use the multiplication rule 1 with large samples. And you may remember that with the multiplication rule 1, that's a rule that you use if you're asked a probability question involving independent events. So the one doesn't affect the other. And when that happens, you're going to take the individual probabilities of each event and multiply them together to find the probability of one happening and then another. And so when you have sufficiently large sample space, such as like all Americans, we can apply this first multiplication rule, even though really we're not actually going to interview the same person twice. So let's look at example 1. According to a Gallup poll report from 2021, 52% of Americans favor the death penalty for murder in contrast to the explicit alternative life imprisonment with no chance of parole. If 3 Americans are chosen randomly, find the following and round to the nearest hundredth. So we want to find the probability that all 3 will favor the death penalty. So we're going to take the probability that the first person is going to favor the death penalty, which is 0.52, and multiply that by the second person favoring the death penalty, which would be 0.52, and then the third person. So this would be if all 3 favors. This would be like the probability of favoring times the probability of someone favoring the death penalty times probability of someone favoring the death penalty. So we would multiply those all together. And a really quick way to put that in your calculator is just to use the exponent key. So you could raise it to the 3rd power, which saves you a little bit of time. So then we're going to write our answer rounded to the nearest hundredth place. So 0.1, that's the tens place, and the hundredth place would be where the 4 is. So I'm going to leave it as 0.14 and use the approximately sign there as my answer. Next, we're asked to find the probability that the first 2 of the 3 favor the death penalty and the third will not. So probability of the first person favoring times the probability of the second person favoring times the probability of the third person not favoring. So we know that the probability of favoring it is 0.52. So we'll just put 0.52 for the first 2. How do we find the probability of not favoring? Well, they're complementary events. So if 52% of people favor, then we can just take 100% and subtract 52, which gives us 48% that will not favor it. So the decimal for that is 0.48. So we can just take 0.52 times 0.52 times 0.48 and multiply those together and get rounded to the nearest hundredth place 0.13 approximately.